Hey guys, Bulby Bollinger here, and today I'm asking the question, where will Tony Romo be next season? Throughout his career, he has been a great quarterback, despite a lack of playoff success. He's put up very good statistics. But his era is over, and Prescott's has begun, and now the Cowboys kinda have to get rid of him, because that's a lot of money to have just sitting on a bench. So, where is this guy gonna go? Now, I've made a system to kind of rate teams on how good of a fit they are for him. First of all, they're gonna need an O-line. They absolutely have to have that for Tony Romo to be able to succeed under them. Because even with the Cowboys, even with the best O-line in the NFL, the dude got injured like crazy. So he cannot succeed at a place with a bad O-line. He may literally die if that happens. Secondly, he needs receivers because, you need someone to throw to. And defense because, well, he needs to go to a team that has potential for success, and unless you have an elite offense, you're not gonna get anywhere without the defense. A green check mark means they do have that thing, the X would mean they don't have the thing, and the blue squiggly means, they kinda got it. So, moving on. The trade options. Now, the Cowboys could potentially trade Romo. They could also just let him go to free agency. Either way is good for them, but trade would probably be better. So, for trade options, technically everybody in free agency is also a trade option. So I've just made trade options the Tony Romo would never even think of going to these teams unless he was basically forced to do so. First off is the Los Angeles Rams. Now, what the Cowboys need, if the Cowboys make a trade, what they basically need is defense or draft picks. So, obviously, teams with a defense are going to be prime targets for the trade. Rams have no O-line or receivers, so Romo would kind of be screwed there, but in a trade, that doesn't matter too much. Rams definitely have a defense, but I think they're more inclined to build up for their future rather than going for success now, especially with the coaching changes, the potential for a great defense next year under the Broncos' former defensive coordinator. So I don't think the Rams would be as interested in Romo as people would think. Now, the Jets are basically in a similar boat. They kind of have an O-line, but they have no receivers. However, they do have a defense that's actually set up in a way that the Cowboys would love to trade with, because the Jets, they don't have their secondary. They don't. It's gone. What they do have is an incredible defensive line. Most people don't give them credit for that, but the defensive line of the Jets is one of the best in the leagues. And so you could probably get one or two of those defensive linemen for Tony Romo if the Jets are desperate enough, which they might be. So this is a big trade option for the Cowboys that they would just love to do. Again, they're kind of on a rebuild, but the Jets have made some very stupid decisions before. Maybe they could make another one. Next up is the 49ers, who basically have nothing of interest in a trade to the Cowboys, except for draft picks. Draft picks in this draft are Well, this draft is believed to be defense rich. So draft picks may be as good or even better than a defensive player. And since the 49ers are, well, the 49ers have the best position in the draft of any team that really needs a quarterback. The Browns have a better position, but in my opinion, they have 3 quarterbacks who could get the job done. RG3, Cody Kessler, whoever that other dude is, young guy is. They also have classes of possibility, and they did a pretty good job considering all the injuries that went down that season. So Browns are out of the picture, 49ers are next at bat, and they definitely need a quarterback. It would be a horrible fit for them, but, you know, they're stupid too. Okay, now the Chicago Bears. This one may actually be surprising to people, but I think Romo could have success here. I mean, they have an O-line and really no receivers, but they do have a great new running back and a good defense that's actually kind of underrated by people. That happens a lot to defenses, like last year's Giants defense. We all know it was great now, but for a while it didn't seem all that good, but only because the offense wasn't doing anything for them. That's the same case for the Bears. If Romo went here, he might actually have success, strangely enough. And of course, the Bears have a great defense, so the Cowboys would be interested in that almost definitely. Plus, all these teams I've mentioned do happen to have some decent draft pick positioning, if a player isn't what the Cowboys are looking for. Okay, now we go to the free agency options. The places Romo would probably want to go, if he's given the option. And again, the Cowboys could trade with these guys as well, but it's just not as enticing as those good draft positions. Okay, first off, Texans. This one's drawn a lot of hype, and originally, like before the Super Bowl, this was what I thought he'd go to, but after thinking about it for a while they do have the defense needed, while they do have the receivers needed, and while their O-line's alright, the Texans just can't afford Tony Romo. I mean, they have, what was his name, Brock Osweiler to pay. They're on the line for that guy, and that's a lot of money. And nobody in their right mind is going to trade for that guy now, so they're stuck with him. So they can't fit in his salary, Romo's salary, Clowney's salary, J.J. Watt's salary. All those salaries are just going to be too much and would just destroy the rest of the team to bring in Tony Romo. So while the Texans probably would be a very successful place for Romo, the fact is they can't afford him and they just can't make it happen. Moving on, the Broncos. This one has actually drawn the most hype, I think, which is just confusing me. Like, yes, they have the defense they need. Yes, they have good receivers. And yes, they were able to do it with Peyton Manning. But, guys, Trevor Siemian's done a pretty decent job considering they haven't been able to run the ball worth crap. And that's the reason they can't run the ball worth crap is because they do not have an O-line. And does Mr. Glassbones really function well without an O-line? No, that dude's going to get carried out on a stretcher if he goes to the Broncos. It would be a horrible failure for the Broncos. Romo should not go here. Like, this is a place where he can die if he goes there. I mean, he's already broke his back, kind of, so spinal issues plus horrible O-line, No, for that guy's own safety, he needs to stay the hell away from Denver. Redskins. Now, this one and the next one are my final two. They rely on the teams releasing their current quarterbacks who are actually doing decent jobs. Which sounds almost impossible to happen, but in the case of the Redskins, it might actually be their best option. Because Kirk Cousins, he's getting close to the free agency thing, and he's young, and he's been doing a good job, so it might actually be more expensive to keep him than it is to get some old quarterback who's injury prone. Like, for the sake of the Redskins' future, it might actually be better to get Tony Romo and release Kirk Cousins. And it would actually be a really nice fit for Tony Romo, too, because they have a great O-line, they have great receivers, and while they don't have a defense, the offensive potential is just so extremely elite on that team that it might not even matter that they don't have a defense. So Tony Romo would definitely find success here. Plus, would staying in the NFC East not be kind of epic? Would 2 games against his former team, who happened to be the Redskins' biggest rivals in one of the greatest football rivalries of all time, not be just a little bit epic? And finally, one of my favorite options, the Kansas City Chiefs. While I do think their current quarterback, Alex Smith, I believe it was, is doing a good job and should be kept, I wouldn't blame him for taking him out. He is a little conservative, and he really needs to learn how to throw to Tyreek Hill. Like, they actually would have won the game against the Steelers if he trusted Hill just a little bit more. Anyway, the Chiefs, we think they have an O-line. We're not sure because Alex Smith is throwing the ball so quickly that you aren't going to get to the dude anyway. But we think they have an O-line. And with guys like Tyreek Hill and one of the best tight ends in the league, they definitely have the receivers Romo would need alongside a really good defense. So the Chiefs would be a place where Romo would definitely be able to find success, and they're a team who kind of needs success now. So I can definitely see them being interested in Romo. So, where do you guys think Romo's going to end up? Is he going to go with the Broncos and leave on a stretcher? Or is he going to go with the Chiefs or Redskins or some other team and wind up a champion? Tell me in the comment section below, and I'll see you later. Get it.